Hello, and welcome to the Libri Labra Book Club. I'm joined tonight by my husband, John, aka BookTube Hubby, and also Book Club VIP member, Tom. Before we get started, if you ever want to join us live on camera with our chat, you can do that by becoming a Book Club VIP member patron on patreon.com/Libri Labra. And there's a few other perks for joining, like behind the scenes images and priority commenting in YouTube videos and a custom bookmark. And you also get to help us decide what we're going to be reading each month. And you also get to be part of an exclusive Facebook chat where we talk about the media that we're consuming. So we are doing this a little bit late, but this was my choice. And we're going to be talking about Babel by R.F. Kuang. It was published by Harper Voyager, and if you didn't know, there was a strike happening with all the employees at HarperCollins. However, they did recently just reach an agreement, and the employees have returned to work as of February 21st. So we're going to be talking initial thoughts, and then we're going to be jumping into spoilers. So if you haven't read it yet and you don't want to be spoiled, go read the book and then come watch this later. So as far as why I selected this, I thought I was just hearing so much about it, and I knew it was a pretty dense book, and I figured it would make for some pretty good discussion. So that's why I picked it. Initial thoughts, there was a lot. It was just a lot to take in. It makes me wish I knew a lot more about history. And unfortunately, I didn't have the time to be researching things while I was reading this time around. But it's definitely the type of book that I would be willing to reread and do some additional research just to kind of figure out what parts were fiction and what parts were accurate and just get a better understanding of history in general. So it is like a historical fiction fantasy kind of is how I would describe it, with heavy themes of colonialism. And
well, it's history for you.
And what are your initial thoughts?
I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what I was getting into, though. So going in, my idea of Babel, the Tower of Babel, or again, I went in blind, and I'm happy I did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how about you, Tom?
I would second John's opinion because I too went in blind, and it's like because I like how things unfold, and it's like, oh wait, and then here you go, and yeah. So yes, it was historical fiction, but like you said, with a fantastic edge to it. So yeah, good read.
Okay, so I guess from here we can just jump into spoilerish conversation. Again, if you haven't read it, go read it, come back. Although it's been out for a little bit, so I feel like a lot of people have read it. It's definitely wasn't anything available in the library because people are taking it out all the time. There's a long wait for it.
Yeah.
But even though I sort of knew what it was about, I didn't really. I genuinely appreciated how much discussion there was about language and translation and the importance of that. And I personally have a goal. I remember hearing as a young child that I had a relative who knew 5 languages, and for whatever reason that stuck in my head as a kid, and I was always like, 5 languages, that's awesome. And so I've just always had this goal to eventually be fluent in 5 languages. Right now I'm relatively fluent in 2. I remember some French and other things like that, but I love the idea of that, to be able to communicate with so many different people and to know things in so many different languages. And I feel like the book really does a good job of emphasizing that. So the main character in this story is Robin, and he undergoes quite a transformation throughout the story, I feel like. I think I'm still trying to process like everything that happened in the book because it was a lot. You read it a little bit further away than I did. Did it kind of go the way you were expecting it to? Like, did you feel like it was predictable or unpredictable or?
I actually didn't put enough thought into it to try and look ahead, like to think, oh, this is going to happen. So I guess it wasn't predictable in my eyes, but I wasn't looking for anything. I was just taking the story as is. And this was also, I'm also knee deep in the next book, so it's kind
Right.
of hard for me to. I need to go back a story here.
Well, they're rather different, but yes.
Yes, indeed.
But in regards to like Robin's transformation, like what
Is Anglicization, if you will.
I mean,
because that's essentially what they did to him.
I mean, that's what they did to him. But when I say transformation, I mean from like from him being at Oxford and being a translator and kind of being happy with that role to then very much not,
because he was because he was anglicized, and that's what you're taught to want. So, in my opinion, anyway. Because I mean, who wouldn't want to go to Oxford? I mean, J.K. Rowling has built up an entire business on the notion of English higher education, with Hogwarts. So who wouldn't want to go to an environment like that? So, but with the notable caveat that Robin is Chinese. And that's not exactly cool with the white people, the white students of Oxford. So.
But apparently he was white passing enough that like.
Yeah, he wasn't black, in other words. So it's like, if you looked at him from a distance, oh yeah, he's probably white. Not thinking that like, being Asian was one of the options. So.
I don't know if I had like a full grasp of the magic system with the silver. Like I understood how language and translation was so important in like making the silver work to do the magic. But was it that like the translators, I think it was saying that they have to like whisper to keep it going?
They actually have to use.
They have to continue to.
Yeah, they have to maintain it. That's what those ley lines were partly for too. So, because it's not apparently a perpetual motion machine, you have to keep it up.
It's go ahead.
And it was also another way to bring income, is just to make sure that the pay to get them to recharge them to
that would be planned obsolescence right there.
Right.
So we can, oh yeah, you need to top that up. Okay. So.
Now again, I feel like I am very ignorant to like history. Mm-hmm. That's something I'm trying to change now as I'm older. But the whole aspect with like the opium, did that happen to some degree?
With opium dens and such, yes. And I think one of the things I liked. I mean, again, not that I'm a historian either, but it struck me that what she did was, it is a female, right?
Mm-hmm.
Marv Kuang, okay.
Yeah.
Or what the author did, let's put it that way, was that she just basically took history and said, okay, how can we explain this in a fictional setting? I know, we'll attribute like the Industrial Revolution to silver and the magic that you can do. Okay. But basically everything else that she talks about has happened. So.
I know that she has written like a YA fantasy series, which is called The Poppy War. Yeah. So that's about like.
Which I understand is really good.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my list.
I saw it on sale the one time. It's like, oh, I'll take that. Yeah.
We can add it to the list of series.
Do we have audio of that?
I might. I'm not sure where to lead the discussion.
I have holes in mine. That's the reason why I'm okay with going back and rereading. So, but I have questions that we'll have to get to in a few. Tom,
Okay.
you said you were. It sounded like you were about to say something.
No, just to Desiree's point about the magic system. It's like one of the things, because I like when I read fantastical books, like this, is how does the magic system work? And usually it's more along the lines of wizardry or sorcery, that sort of thing. But it doesn't matter. I mean, they built the magic on, we're going to inscribe 2 words on this silver bar, one on each side, and they're going to be essentially the same thing, but not quite.
Right, not quite.
And that's what we're. So, my in my head, it's like, well, how? Like, I know translation was the big one,
Mm-hmm.
that they couldn't do. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah. Once they said that, if you read the book, you know what I'm talking about to the audience. But it's like, yeah, but that sequence of syllables is meaningless. Like, where does the meaning come from to imbue it with that? Like, when we say, translate or door or, elbow or whatever, you see what I mean? It just seems like, and it had to work. She had to make it work for her thing, but it didn't seem that that's like, okay, well, if it's like the comic book thing. If you're positing a word like superheroes and supervillains exist, then why are you questioning the laws of physics? Just go with it. So, and that's what I think she does here. And that's not dissing her. It's just like, as I read this, like, it's like, I wonder what that means, So,
I mean, I feel like throughout the book, she provided explanations for.
Oh, she did, but like, for example, and this is me thinking way too deep into this, so take this with a grain of salt. But I could say blue or bleu, and when I say blue, you know what I mean by blue, but I don't know what your experience of blue is, and you don't know what my experience of blue is. So how does that translate? You see what I mean? Where's the meaning?
Is there a reason why colors were avoided?
Possibly. It's like when they avoid oranges in poetry, but yes, same idea.
That's not something that can translate easily from person to person because everybody's eyesight is different. Is that what
Exactly?
You mean?
Yeah. I mean, we can both point. Oh, yeah, that's blue, but do we? Is it the same experience? And that's beyond the book, though.
If I don't know because if societal generalization, if everybody believes that a certain blue is
it's
blue,
a consensus. Yeah,
it's going to average out eventually.
Yeah. But then you could get, and I know this doesn't affect blue, but like, red and green with colorblind people, it's like, what is their experience of those colors? So, so again, some of the things like that I thought about while reading this book. So.
Trying to think of kind of where to go.
What about the idea that I don't know. That's getting a little deep already. Never mind.
No. What are you saying?
We have to start at something.
Yeah, well,
we can't just sit here and look at each other.
We don't actually know that Lovell is. It starts off as his guardian, and then it like slowly makes its way into is he my father? And all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. So when does he make the connection that might be his brother?
Almost immediately.
That he saw.
Because they look a lot alike.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
But he said because he immediately referred to him as my doppelganger. Yeah.
Right.
Why does he have my face? But I'm saying that I didn't know that was the reason. I didn't know that he was like, oh, maybe that's my brother. At that point in time, I thought it took him a while, and then afterwards,
didn't feel like it.
And then I don't know. Were you surprised to find out that Lovell was his father? Outside of me spoiling it for you.
I read it twice because the first time I apparently completely missed the conversation where they were alluding to Lovell being his father. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know what John and I were talking about. He was like, yeah, his father beat him. And I was like, no, it wasn't his father. It was his, it was the teacher.
Oh,
And John was like, right.
yes.
You're right. It
Yeah,
was the
same
teacher.
person, yeah.
He was like, my bad. And then I reread it and I was like, oh. But he seemed to know that pretty quickly too. I mean, I guess it was the conversation he overheard, because there was a dinner that was happening and I think someone said to him like, oh, this one looks more like you than the other one, or something like that.
I did. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so like him processing that probably helped him figure out about his brother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that was after the fact, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He met Griffin.
Yes.
Griffin after the fact. Did they ever say what the deal was with Lovell though? Like, was he just having fun and sleeping around, or was he going to Canton like with the purpose of bringing back a child for
the translation purposes?
Yeah, that's number 2 is correct. Yes.
Solely to keep the Chinese.
Once, okay, twice now.
Right. The first one didn't work.
Because I
So we
think
gotta replace that tool. Sorry.
I briefly was having like mixed feelings about Robin and Lovell's exchange on the ship. I don't know. I think I still, obviously, I understand where Letty was coming from. And was it Anthony that was like, the master is always, actually, I don't know how Anthony worded it. What am I trying to say? Just that I guess I felt bad for Lovell at some point, but then I didn't realize that he was actually going to China with a plan. I thought he was just like, I don't know, cheating on his wife and ended up with like extra kids and was like, I should probably take care of them. But that's giving him a lot. That's giving him a lot of credit that didn't exist. So it was just hard to digest all the racism. I mean, I know it exists in the world. I don't personally face it on a regular basis, but I know people do, and I know it exists, and I know it's out there, and to see it on every page, it was just tragic.
And I think due to the time period, I think what we saw was light.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yes, and they were also using them, so
right.
Okay. Yeah, but even apart from the overt racism, there's also the subtle one, which, I thought, Letty standing in as the proxy for white people within the cohort, that, she relates her experience of going to balls and dances, and she's all excited about it. And she's excited enough about it to get the other 3 to go. And they're trying to tell her, dude, this is not our experience.
Right, yeah.
And she just totally doesn't get it. And of course, what they tell her absolutely pans out. They're made to feel unwelcome, and who was it? Victoire was pretty much propositioned, I guess, if I recall correctly. Or both of them were. No, both of them were.
Yeah, no, they were saying some dumb stuff to them about their body parts.
Yeah, exactly. So. And that, also later in the book, Letty's one said, well, how can you throw all this away? It's like, it's a gilded cage, and she obviously can't understand that. And it took them, the other 3, a while to understand what was going on. And they said, hey, no, we don't want this, and that's what led to the rebellion. So.
There's also a lot of misogyny
Oh yeah.
in there.
Well, that's the thing. I was thinking about that. It's like, how would they get? Because what I was thinking is that if you recall, what was it? Who was the one in Griffin's year? The one young woman. I can't remember her name now.
Evelyn.
Evelyn, yes. And in my head, it's like, it's because it almost seemed like the faculty was like, we're going to plant one white woman in each cohort to be like our eyes and ears. And it's like we have to find somebody who's disenfranchised, but not disenfranchised enough to side with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it just happened a second time.
Yeah.
It
but I
was
was
just
like,
history.
I was
repeating
waiting for
itself.
somebody to admit it. It's like that. I mean, it would be great, but it'd be awful at the same time. And I thought for sure the Latin professor was going to be the third one, but oh well.
And I mean, it's still happening today. Like white women siding against their own interests.
Yeah, because they couldn't put a white dude in there because all the white dudes are like so like entitled that why would I well, I guess it wouldn't put as much of a complexity around the character that it did Letty. So I guess in my opinion, because we saw all that entitlement like everywhere else, so it's like, well, but it seemed like Letty was actually their friend, but for a reason she just did not get what they were trying to tell her.
I mean, because it's just not her experience. Like, and I think it's also the fact that because of the misogyny, Letty had wanted to go to Oxford. Like that was her dream. She wanted to be able to read all those books. She wanted to prove herself. Right. And she hated that her brother didn't value what he had. And so for her, like she fought to have that place. So to then have them being like,
no,
she couldn't. Yeah, she couldn't. Right. She couldn't handle that.
And then the other thing was when actually I think it was the ball. No, it was trying to get the other three to go to the ball, and how the three of them ended up comforting her.
Yeah. No, I thought that was the end of that chapter was like very poignant. Yeah. With them just being like, we tried to explain it to her, and it seemed like maybe she was getting it, but in the end, we were the one comforting her.
Right. So how does that work?
Mm-hmm.
It's a fair point.
Happens a lot too.
Oh, I know. That's the point.
Jeez.
One of the things which I noticed, like right at the beginning of the book, when Rami and what's his name? Robin meet up. And I said, I'm pretty sure they're lovers.
Who?
Robin and Rami.
Oh.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really go into it like anywhere else in the novel. But it's like, just
I caught a couple hints.
Yeah, there were hints, but they were like, and yes, they have rooms across the hall from one another, so it's easy access and whatnot. But still, it's like
I thought that was coming somewhere only because I think at some point Robin was telling Rami like, she likes you.
Yeah.
Don't you know she likes you? And he was like,
yeah.
Don't you know why that wouldn't work?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And that's why Robin got so upset at the end. When Letty, offs Rami. So
I don't think I was expecting that.
I don't think anybody was. I don't think even Letty was. Well, actually, no. Didn't they say that she might have planned it?
Well, not planned it, but like Robin's
the intent.
Robin's description of why he feels like she targeted him. He was like, you could have aimed at any of us. You could have aimed at any of us, but you aimed at him. Why? Right. And he had told Victoire that he felt like she was so embarrassed to have been rejected by a brown person.
Right.
Which, I don't know. The whole story was really intense.
Yes.
Like everything about it. And I read a super long review, which I should really stop reading reviews before I actually read the book, because
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
there was like it kind of blew up because the person was very upset about the story and was like calling it propaganda and
For what side?
it
No, it's important.
is.
I
Is
guess
it
against
woke
the
or
English.
is it
No. Yeah.
okay?
She was siding with Letty. I don't know how else to like.
So I'm getting yes, it was too woke.
Like she was very offended.
Yeah.
And just felt like, that it was meant to make white people feel a certain way, and yeah.
If that's how it makes you feel by putting it out in the open, you might be a little
like I don't know. So Remy deserved better.
Say what?
I said Remy deserved better. Everybody deserved better.
Well, the other thing about the international part of it was, with Lovell and his band being all irate that China won't let them in to sell their people opium. It's like, how dare you not want to make your people drugs to profit us? It's like,
with the conversation, I think it was like Commander Lin, was that his name? When they had gone back to Canton with the whole opium situation.
Right.
Because the conversation that started between Lovell and Robin was because Robin had spoke to, I think it's Commander Lin. Okay, but nothing actually transpired during that conversation that led him to burn all the opium. I don't remember what Robin said that would have triggered that.
He asked him 3 questions.
Yeah.
Was it 3 questions? I don't know. It was. He asked him a few questions,
and
the
he was
last
honest.
one was, and he was honest with him about their intentions.
Yeah.
So that's when he was like, "Well, then I don't want nothing to do with this."
Yeah. Screw you guys. Yeah, and just the way that the British were obviously negotiating in bad faith because they were being total assholes, like right throughout. So it's like, yeah, they wanted to spark the war. So it wasn't about the negotiation. It's just like we want a pretext so that we can, start hostilities. And there you go.
Yeah, they wanted the war to happen so that they could actually go over there and start guns flailing and have them bow to the queen, king, whoever was in charge.
I forgot how long travel takes back then until they were like, it's going to be 9 weeks. That's a long time on a ship.
Yes, but they had silver bars on it, so it was a bit quicker.
A little bit. 6 weeks.
Yeah. Instead of 9. But still, it's 3 weeks difference, so.
That's a big difference.
Yep.
Why do you think Lovell gave Robin the silver? The silver that Evelyn was killed with?
I think he thought he was going to use it against his brother. Because he tried to fill Robin's head with bad faith,
saying that
of Griffin.
Yeah.
So he's like, your brother did this to this boat here.
Mm-hmm. And essentially telling him that Griffin was a terrorist, which he was. But there's more to it than that.
Right. I was going to say, was it bad faith or was it just not the full story?
There you go.
One could say both, I think, in that case. So. But he was trying to turn, Robin against Griffin, I think. And so.
I was really expecting her to be still alive and actually to be part of the Hermes Society.
Who?
Evie. Evelyn.
Oh.
And apparently they tried to recruit her, but...
Right.
Yeah, I guess she
I
just
mean-
turned on them at the
They tried to recruit
Letty.
I mean,
I know, it was just a
Same
repeat
situation.
of, yeah.
now, out of all the people who, like, it seems like too many people died
A lot of people.
in this. How did I miss Griffin dying? What happened to Griffin, Tom?
Oh, geez, you're asking me.
Okay.
No,
No.
it's been a while since I read it.
I'll have to go back
Alright,
for it
hold on,
anyway.
let me-
I
Honestly.
think I thought it was in the when Letty actually got them,
No, I think it was before that.
because she said everybody else has been killed, just you guys left.
No, because Griffin came to save Robin when Robin was talking to Sterling. Yeah, that's how he
Okay.
died. Sterling and Griffin shot each other.
Oh, okay. Sterling.
Because, yeah, he came to save, like, Sterling was torturing Robin,
I see.
and then Griffin came to save him, and then, so it was like, then Griffin and Robin went to find Victoire, and then they bumped into Sterling.
Mhm.
And I remember Griffin even saying, "There's three of us. Who you going to aim at?" But they had some kind of history, according to Robin. Like, it was clear that they had history, like whether they were students together or
Right.
They're part of the same cohort, if I recall correctly, with Avi.
right.
Of course.
And so they shot each other.
Mhm.
This would make a good TV show.
TV show,
Or a movie.
like not a movie.
I think it needs some of the details that a TV show can pick up in a couple, like 6 to 8 episodes versus a movie's 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
2 hours if you're lucky.
Mhm.
Hour and 15 minutes. Some movies end up being.
Did you
I-
say
I-
it? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it also kind of showed how, we, myself included, we silo ourselves in the sense that, the students, the minority, for lack of a better word, students in the tower say, "Oh, we're going through this, that, and the other, and we're getting, screwed." And throughout the book, she was mentioning like the weavers and such who are being displaced by the Industrial Revolution, and then they find out we have common cause now. So it's like, maybe we're not so different after all.
There's a large number of industries that was being
Yeah.
uprooted.
Which again, what actually happened when the Industrial Revolution hit. So, but I just thought that was interesting that it's like different people from different backgrounds are facing the same situation,
Mm-hmm.
so they band together. So
I was not sure how to feel about Professor Play. What was his name?
Who?
Play something.
Playfair?
Yeah. Right? Because at some point, wasn't he like whispering to Robin, being like, "I'm with Hermes,"
Oh yeah,
but he was lying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was trying to. Yeah.
Robin. Robin told Playfair something that was totally untrue. And when he goes back to the cohort, he says, "Yeah, I told him so. It's untrue," and he fell for it. So he's not in; he's out. So
I guess I wanted to believe it in that moment. Just that there were like professors on the right side,
Mhm.
or trying to dismantle shit from the inside, or I don't know.
There was one.
A few of them stayed.
yeah, Kraft was one.
Mm-hmm.
And the Indian professor stayed. I can't remember his
Yeah.
name offhand.
I thought he was the one that
Sure.
was in Hermes.
I think he
Indian
may have been a
professor.
new inductee, but that was another good thing, good scene where the professor, I wish I could remember his name, had that talk with Robin, and he's like, "Look, you're becoming what you're fighting against.
Right?
You're
Yeah.
turning into the villain here." And it's like I cannot support that. And,
Right,
it's
and then he
okay.
left. Right?
Yeah,
I felt like somebody needed to say it.
Yeah.
I'm not totally like, I don't know. I wasn't sure how to feel as Robin was like, it seemed like he was just getting more and more vengeful.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what that kind of movement requires.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I don't know.
But also shows how, when you're in a situation like that, what else can you resort to with violence? And which is sad, but it's true.
I think they reiterate multiple times in the book that the colonialism is really can only be uprooted by violence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said that's the only language they understand. It's true. With all the riots and such, and well, even with what was it? That Britain, outlawed slavery, but it was for an economic reason to benefit them, not because they wanted to free the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Really, so. Then when you're part of that, overarching, engulfing machine, how do you get out from under it?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Did you get the impression that there was going to be a second book?
No.
Okay. Maybe it was just me.
The reason why, because I was thinking about this as I was reading it. When they were, all in the tower and they, are going to translate the explosion, shall we say? The way I envisioned that working was, it's almost like the equivalent of an atomic blast. And all this inert silver goes into the atmosphere, and then it somehow touches all the other silver in the world, and therefore it becomes normal now, like what we would know as normal. So, so the answer is no.
I guess it felt to me like there might be a second book because of the prologue and how Victoire mentioned 3 people specifically that she was looking for that were mentioned in the letter that Griffin had left Robin.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost seemed like she was
introducing
new characters.
Absolutely can. She absolutely can. I mean, I just, I thought it was pretty self-contained. So, but in my opinion, the way I saw, like I said, the way I explained it working, the world would be much different now. That we don't have silver now to rely upon. So. Excuse me.
Just a fantastical way to explain something that the British did.
Mm-hmm. Well, they had to tie it to something that the students could actually can take control of. It's like everything is a Babel, so that's where all the power flows. So, because without that, again, and that's one of the problems about it. A society like that, it's so ubiquitous. It's like, where do you even start to begin to, control it? You can't. So, in my opinion, anyway.
Why do you think? I don't know. I didn't think Victoire was going to make it out. I know she really wanted to, but I didn't think she was going to. So.
Yeah, I like that they get that. They gave her that determination that she, hey, I don't want to be here. I want to go live life. It's like, okay, well, that's fair. So.
Well, she was going to start her life over in America with silver because she had silver in her pocket. She took a bunch with her.
Right. But again, is it magical or is it not? That's the thing. Who knows?
Because it was in her pocket, it was protected from the explosion.
I don't think so.
The only piece left is in her pocket.
Yeah. And she could write it like that, where it's like, well, there's this note that was deep underground and nothing, So that's it. So who knows?
There was some sort of protection spell written on it first.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Yeah, but the way it was, the way it was described in the book, it's like that was like the killer. It's like once the inert silver touched any other silver, kaput, done. So, and it's just silver now. Oh no, but that's right.
It's not magic anymore.
Right. But it's still worth value of silver. So.
Did you guys have a favorite character in the story?
I think the way he's written, we're supposed to like Rami, which I did, because he was always the one that came off with the witty saying or whatever. So, but clearly Robin is like the central point of the book, so we see a lot of the book through his experience. So no, I think they were all good. Victoire with her, struggles with oh well, yeah, they want all these like different languages and such, but they don't want Creole for some reason.
Well, not for some reason. It was because they didn't have enough people to speak it, so they didn't have people they can use to use it.
But she was being steered, remember, into like something else. I forget. It was like French or one of the European languages. Like, well, I thought you just said that you were looking for people like languages nobody's really done before. So.
No, but I remember specifically that her professor was like, nobody could use this. And she was like, well, the Haitians could use it.
Yeah. Remember them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he basically just laughed.
Oh, yes. Well, they're not English or they're not British. Sorry.
Oh, boy.
Did they ever say what Robin's real name was?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Because I think at the end they even said something about him seeing his mother and she called him by his name, but they didn't say what his name was.
Oh, now that you mentioned that, did you guys listen to the audiobook at all?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I was, at the beginning and at the end, I was so freaking annoyed with the footnotes. I get it. I get it. It's relevant information.
I got tired of the footnotes.
But it's like, all right, we're going at a good place to start. And then we like crash. It's like, oh no, we have to stop for this like mildly interesting footnote.
But like the majority of the footnotes were expanding on the historical aspects of what had happened, so they were very informative. But there was one footnote.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, by the way, this happened in the story. That was like, why wouldn't you have just put that in the story? Like, why was that a footnote?
It was the fall of. It wasn't London Bridge. It was Westminster or something like that. Yeah. So
no, I think it was like no. Yeah, that was an article, but like,
oh yeah.
I think it was Professor Kraft. Was that her name?
Latin professor, yeah.
So she had done something. I don't know if she had destroyed their vial. She did something that would allow Victoire and Robin to come and go as they please without having to deal with any wards or something. And it wasn't part of the story. It was added as a footnote, which I thought was like a little lazy or like maybe an afterthought. Like, yeah. I just didn't understand why it wasn't in the story.
It's like, come on, you could have put this in the story.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
rather than stop everything, focus on this. Yeah. So I get it, but by the same token, it's like, oh my God, this is so annoying to me anyway. Because like, you build up a good head of steam dramatically, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's like 5 or 10 footnotes, and I was like, well, this just took me right out of this.
And some of them were almost like half a page long.
Yeah. In the year 1850, no, I'm kidding. It's like, well, I get it, but I'm trying to read a book here, not a history book.
Though I appreciate that they gave the footnotes a completely different voice, so I was like, okay, all right, at least I know we're in a footnote right now.
I felt like I was being chimed in by an AI. It's like, bing, hey, this is what you need to know right now.
Thank you, Alexa. Okay. No. But no, the other thing which I did like is how like the audiobook reader would would say like foreign phrases and such, especially the
Mhm.
Chinese, and
Yeah.
then they would have it dubbed in with the actual Chinese person saying the same phrases. Oh, you can tell the difference, you know. So that's a bit of translation there too. So
Indeed.
So it's no surprise that like the author is a translator.
Right.
Um,
and she went to Oxford. Surprise, surprise.
I was really curious in regards to how many languages she knew, but her bio doesn't say, unless maybe she only knows like English and Chinese or whatever. But
Well, that's a lot. So,
but there were so many languages in the book that I was like, wow.
oh yeah. Excuse me.
So I guess we all agree. Yeah, I had asked John earlier if like how he felt about the writing itself, and if he'd be willing to read more of her work.
Yes.
I would. This was a slow burn for me, though. It's like, we're going through this book. Oh, this is a pretty long book, and we're still at Oxford. Are we going to be at Oxford throughout? Apparently, we are.
Well, I mean, like by the time Letty came in with her gun and shot Remy, like I was like, okay, now what? And there was still like 150 pages left. There was a lot.
Yeah, but it was the kind of thing where she did spend, and I understand again in retrospect why she did it, so that she would give the reader an idea of how blessed an existence Oxford was if you were in the right crowd, let's say. So in other words, we wouldn't know what they had lost if we hadn't experienced what they had is the point, I guess. So
I mean, I think she also wanted to show, like, even though Robin was kind of going through his own stuff and his own rage and like revenge thoughts and everything, I still think those 150 pages showed the slow progression of things and how the ultimate goal was for the system to change, not to hurt people.
Right. But that has to happen in every revolution, unfortunately. No, but it's also the kind of thing. One of the things, the character pointing out, I think it was Rami I think it was Rami. They pointed out that Robin had a martyr complex.
Right.
So
that he wasn't being brave or courageous. He was just kind of taking
That's
the
what
easy
you want to
way
do,
out.
yeah. You wanted to kill yourself before, and now you're finding an acceptable way of doing it now. So.
Anything else that stood out to you? I mean, I know you read it a while ago.
I'm sure there's a lot. But I'm overheating and my brain is not.
I'm sorry, is the AC
working.
not on? Let me see. I tried turning it on before we came in here.
I did.
I did also. And it feels like there's some cool air. Maybe. Yeah, it's on 70. I'm gonna have to do a little digging just to see if she is writing a second book about it.
Well, there's other stuff to read by her also, so like War and that full-on trilogy, so I can wait. Well, I mean, we know the basic premise of the world that she's created, so now, I want to experience something else for a bit. So,
all right. I don't know if I have anything else to add, but if you guys want to do final thoughts.
Final thoughts?
And ratings, right?
Yeah.
I give it a 4-star. I enjoyed it. I'm probably going to give it a reread.
I don't think you say that too often.
No, I don't.
How about you, Tom?
Well, I mean, when I finished the book and I was going to rate it on Goodreads, and then, the issue of, okay, what shelves do I put this on came up, and, you could say, and which would be absolutely true, is like, well, you dumbass, of course it should go on that shelf. But, it's like, and I think that's why I pushed it up to a 5-star for me so I put it in dystopian fiction. And it's like, well, of course it has to be dystopian fiction. That's kind of the point. So,
Okay.
So I gave it 5 stars.
I gave it 5 stars. And, I think it's historical fiction, so a lot of it was based on some things that had happened. But I just like how the focus was on language and translation, and how some things kind of can't be translated and experienced the same way. And like being bilingual, I kind of knew that, but to read it this way, it just gave me more to think about how true that is. And like, it's both wild and kind of sucks at the same time. That, like, I thought it was also interesting how they mentioned a few times, they were like, do you dream in Chinese? I feel like I've had somebody ask me that, like, do you dream in Spanish? And I was like, I don't think so. I mean, like, right. I'm sure I've had dreams where there's Spanish in it, but I don't like actually dream in Spanish. But so I thought that was.
Yeah, but again, it's the difference between fluent enough that when you think to say something, are you
think in that language?
Yeah, in that language, as opposed to English, and then translating the English to whatever you want to say.
So, but I do give it 5 stars. I thought it was really good. I do want to read The Poppy War. So.
Well, I have it.
Okay.
Everything's free too.
We have it too. So our February pick was selected by Tom, and that is
The Royal
Assassin
by Robin Hobb.
Yes. Continuing the Farseer trilogy, of which we have read Assassin's Apprentice. So this is book number 2.
So we will be discussing that sometime in March, because I have not started that yet. And it's a pretty decently long book. So I guess just stay tuned for dates for that. And once again, if you made it this far, thank you for joining us. And one more time, if you ever want to join us on screen during our discussions, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member on patreon.com/Libri Labra. So thanks for joining us, and see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.